What's going on, folks? This is your boy Reggie. Welcome to another edition of 100 Yards and Running, Week 5/Week 6. Before we get into Week 6, we have to go over what happened in Week 5. There was some blowouts. There were some teams that didn't even show up. And let's get right into it. Thursday night, last Thursday night, we had a battle for the NFC West. We had the San Francisco 49ers playing host to Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Precious Nakua, and the LA Rams. This game was back and forth, ladies and gentlemen. If you saw the game, you missed a good one. Christian McCaffrey, hats off to him, coming back from injury, running all over the Rams. The Rams couldn't stop the run in the second half. And the 49ers upsetting the Rams at home by a score of 26-23, which means, ladies and gentlemen, the San Francisco 49ers are in first place of the NFC West with a 4-1 record. Who would have thought, after losing Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, these backup, and a lot of backups are doing good right now. And Mac Jones is one of them. When Brock Purdy went down, Mac Jones came in. He stepped up to the plate. And he is 3-0 backing up Brock Purdy. You heard me right, ladies. Mac Jones. He used to play for New England last year. It didn't work out in New England. They went and they drafted Drake May. And now Mac Jones found a home in San Francisco. And now he's 3-0 backing up Brock Purdy. So shout out to the 49ers for taking first place in the NFC West. Another game, we had another early game. And there's a lot of early games coming up this week. Sunday, 9:30 a.m., the Denver Broncos fly over to London to play host to the winless Jets. You heard me right. The Jets are the only team in the NFL that does not have a win. Everybody else that I'm about to cover got their first win, with the exception of Aaron Glenn, Justin Fields, and the New York Jets. What is going on in New York? I don't know. But I'm going to get to that game because they played the Cowboys this week. But the Vikings played host in an early morning game last week in London, playing host to the Cleveland Browns. Now, everybody knows that there's a big trade in Cleveland that happened this week with Joe Flacco. You heard me right. Joe Flacco and a few draft picks were traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, leaving a wide open door for Shedeur Sanders to come and show his talent. It took for Joe Flacco to not get hurt. It took for Joe Flacco to do good in Cleveland. It took for Joe Burrow to get injured for the Bengals to go out and get Joe Flacco. So now Joe Flacco is in Cincinnati. Cleveland got Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders as the only quarterbacks that's left in Cleveland. The Vikings, let's talk about them for a second. Losing J.J. McCarthy early in the season, you got backup Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a former Super Bowl champion to the Philadelphia Eagles, which we will get deep into the show later. But right now, the Vikings upsetting the Cleveland Browns in London by a score of 21-17. Carson Wentz rushed for a touchdown and threw for 2. This is why the Vikings and that defense with Brian Flores, I told people since last season, Brian Flores is a coach that y'all will want to pay attention to. He reads the offense. He's a defensive-minded coach, and he's going to get players that's going to get down and gritty and get after the quarterback. That's their job. So the Vikings upsetting the Browns 21-17 and proving themselves to be 2-2. Now, this game right here, it saddened me because being a Lamar Jackson fan, being a Ravens fan, and seeing what's going on in Baltimore. Lamar's hurt with a hamstring. Derrick Henry is frustrated. The Ravens don't know what to do. So they got obliterated. Our Lamarless Ravens got obliterated by C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. And Houston was also a team that was looking to bounce back from not winning the first 4 games. So now Houston picked up the slack. Like I said, y'all played a Lamar Jackson-less Ravens. Y'all played the secondary backup quarterback who was in trouble the whole time. And without Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the background controlling what's going on in Baltimore, Baltimore is in trouble. And I'm saying this now. If they don't win their next 3 to 4 games, I do not see the Baltimore Ravens making the playoffs this year. There's a lot of teams that we expected to start hot that did not. And now their season is in jeopardy early. We're already in week 6. And these teams, we're starting to see the identity of these teams early. Now, tonight, we have a battle in the NFC East. We have the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles playing host to Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. Now, speaking of the New York Giants, before tonight's game, the Giants had a game on Sunday in New Orleans against Spencer Rattler, Alvin Kamara, and the New Orleans Saints. Now, every rookie that comes in make a mistake. Every rookie that comes in is not red hot. We've seen it from Brady, Manning, Mahomes, Allen, etc. Jackson Dart is a good start to the Giants getting their first win. So I commend Jackson Dart. You beat the Chargers last week. This week, you had the Saints. You had them dead to rights. In the second half, the Saints just poured it on. Their defense was on point, led by Cam Jordan. And the Saints upsetting the Giants at home, getting their first win of the season, defeating the New York Football Giants by a score of 26-14. Now, if I'm the Giants going into tonight's game, I'm keeping my head up held high if I'm Jackson Dart. Like I said, every rookie that comes in the NFL, they make mistakes. They get their feet wet. We see that from Jalen Daniels, and we're seeing it from Caleb Williams, and etc. So right now, going into tonight's game, if I'm the Giants, I am comfortable with continuing to start Jackson Dart because you do not need to start Russell Wilson. I'm saying it now. You heard it from me first. If the Giants start Russell Wilson tonight, they're not winning. I don't see it. And that's just my opinion. Russell Wilson, you had your time. You had your career. You're a former Super Bowl champion. It's time to hang it up. That's just my opinion on Russell Wilson. Maybe I'm wrong because it didn't work in Denver. It didn't work in – you had a great coach in Seattle, but you were not the reason why Seattle won that Super Bowl. They had the Legion of Boom. You had Marshawn Lynch. You had Doug Baldwin. And you had all those guys on both sides of the ball that built you around a player that you were supposed to be. Now you're in New York, and it didn't work in Pittsburgh. It didn't work in Denver. So let's see what Russell Wilson can do in New York. They started him the first 2 weeks. He was 0-2. That's why you see Jackson Dart now. Moving on. The Broncos shocked the world last week. And I said any team on any given Sunday can lose a football game. And the Denver Broncos, led by Sean Payton and Bo Nix, going to Philadelphia, playing host to Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and the Philadelphia Eagles, the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. The Denver Broncos defense is one of the best defenses that I've seen this season in the NFL, next to Detroit, next to and next to Green Bay. And you got to put Houston on there as with their defense. Their defense is good, along with Minnesota. The Broncos upsetted the Eagles at home with a last-second field goal, beating the Super Bowl champions by a score of 21-17. The Broncos handing the Philadelphia Eagles their first loss of the season. Now, tonight, you got two teams coming from a loss. So, which team is going to be more desperate tonight? Is it the Eagles or is it the Giants? Now, one thing I can say good about the Giants' defense, they got some guys that can stop the run. I'm impressed with the Giants' defense. You're bringing in guys like Brian Burns from Carolina. You draft people from the draft, making your defense better. The only stinger that's going to sting tonight for the New York Football Giants, we will not see Malik Neighbors in action. As we all know, Malik Neighbors tore his ACL last week, and he is out with a torn ACL and will not be playing the rest of this season. So what can the Giants do? Maybe the trade deadline is coming up. Maybe you can get you a number one receiver that can support those other receivers to open up your football team. Because if you keep depending on your quarterback and your running back is not doing as great and your receivers are stressed out because they're not getting the ball as much, how can you win a football game? So tonight is a must-win for both teams in my eyes. Moving on to this team, and I spoke about them earlier, the winless Jets. Now, all my Jets fans, y'all going to hate me what I'm about to say. You go get Aaron Glenn from Detroit. We know him for his defense. He was a former Jets player. We get all of that. You get Justin Fields from Pittsburgh. You bring in Tyrod Taylor. What else do y'all have? It didn't work with Aaron Rodgers. It didn't work with Brett Favre. The only Super Bowl that y'all have, Jets fans, is Joe Namath. And how long ago was that? That, to me, is a wake-up call. If I'm the New York Jets organization, Woody Harrelson got to go. He don't know what he's doing. He's bringing in these guys, and now your football team is 0-5. And here's why. You played the Dallas Cowboys at home. You let Dak Prescott look like a superstar. He looks like an MVP candidate every time he plays New York teams. It don't matter if it's the Jets or the Giants. And we've seen that with the Jets. Without CeeDee Lamb, they got the job done. The Cowboys defeating the winless Jets, you heard me, the winless Jets, by a score of 37-22, moving Dallas to 2-1. The only draw that they have was that Sunday night game in Green Bay where Micah Parsons stopped the last-second play. Now Dallas is trying to catch up with the Eagles, which I don't think they can do, and try to win that division. So Dallas getting the job done at MetLife Stadium, beating the Jets. The Jets is 0-5. The Cowboys is 2-1. Moving on. Geno Smith, Daniel Jones. Two quarterbacks that used to play in New York. One with the Jets, one with the Giants. Now they're in different organizations. Daniel Jones is looking like Baker Mayfield 2.0. Geno Smith leads the league in interceptions this year. That is sad. He threw 3 or 4 more interceptions this weekend. The coach was all over them on offense and defense. This game was a blowout. The Colts beating the Raiders by a score of 8-6. Sad score. The Colts on both ends of the ball was doing their thing. Daniel Jones rushed for a touchdown. We see him do that in New York, and now he's looking like a legitimate quarterback. And now New York fans is like, oh, are we biting ourselves in the behind by letting go Daniel Jones? No. You did the right thing by letting him go. He was in this organization for a while and nothing to show for it. So let's see what Danny Dimes could do in Indianapolis. So now the Colts, for the first time since the Peyton Manning era, is 4-1. Moving on to the Dolphins and the Panthers. Now with the Dolphins, a lot of heartbreak with them going on. Tyreek Hill twisting his knee. He's out for the season. Tua and his concussions. And I just don't see the Dolphins being a legit threat in the AFC East. And playing a team like the Carolina Panthers, a team that's trying to revamp themselves, a team that's very young with Houston and Tampa Bay. The Panthers upsetting the Dolphins by a field goal, beating the Dolphins by a score of 27-24. Bryce Young at the last minute, he's behind Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield for game-winning drives in the NFL. That's why the Panthers got Bryce Young. And speaking of the Bucs, we had a great rivalry in the NFC West. There's a lot of teams that's trying to come up in the NFC West, North, and South. And right now, in my eyes, I got Tampa Bay winning the NFC South. And here's why. I don't see Seattle as a threat, even though Sam Darnold, a part of that draft class with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and who I just said, Josh Allen. So now Sam Darnold is trying to prove himself in Seattle. Then you got Baker Mayfield, who was red hot last season. Coming into this season, the Bucs defense stopping Seattle at the last second of the clock. Baker being Baker, another game-winning drive. This makes 8 game-winning drives by Baker Mayfield alone this season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers upsetting the Seahawks at home, beating them by a field goal, winning by a score of 38-35. Baker and the Bucs move to 4-1. Seattle moves to 4-2. It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be up and down this season. Another close game, another team that was looking for their first win of the season. The Tennessee Titans playing host to Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this game was going back and forth with the Cardinals, Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. trying to recreate what his dad, Marvin Harrison, did in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning. Marvin Harrison Jr. with a great quarterback like Kyler Murray, everybody's like, oh, Kyler's not it. Kyler's a bum. Kyler's not going to make it. I don't think so. I do not sleep on any team in the NFL. But this one, it could have been anybody's game. Unfortunately, the Titans wanted it more, getting their first win of the season, along with the Saints and the Texans, beating the Cardinals by 1 point. Final score, 22-21. Tennessee gets their first win of the season. Now, this team is in trouble to me. They started off 4-1. They was red hot. Justin Herbert was in the conversation to be MVP. But losing 2 in a row to the 2 teams in the same division. The Chargers are in trouble. Last week, you lost to the Giants. The Giants got their first win of the season. This week, you're playing host to Jaden Daniels, the returning Jaden Daniels, and the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels did not miss a beat. He came in there red hot, throwing touchdowns, rushing for touchdowns, Herbert turning over the ball. It was not the Chargers' day at all last week. The Chargers losing to the Commanders by a score of 27-10. The Chargers losing two back-to-back by two teams in the NFC East. I think the Chargers are in trouble as well, being in the playoffs. So that hopefully they can turn it around with Jim Harbaugh on their team. They just got it. They got injuries on both sides of the ball. Hopefully, when those guys come back healthy, the Chargers could be what they used to be, and that's dangerous in the AFC West. Moving on to the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals didn't know what to do. And like I said, they lost Joe Burrow with a broken toe. He's out 2 to 3 months. So we don't know if we're going to see Joe Burrow. So it was smart for the Bengals to go out there and get a veteran quarterback in Joe Flacco. So now you got Joe Flacco and Cincinnati now. He didn't play last week because he just got traded this week. The Bengals was left with their secondary quarterback. The Lions being the Lions, Dan Campbell, and those boys, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amar St. Brown, and others got the job done in Cincinnati, beating the Bengals by a score of 37-24. Moving the Lions now to 4-1. There's a lot of 4-1 teams that could be dangerous, but I can see some of those teams losing next week. Maybe, am I right? We will see. Sunday night football. We had the reigning MVP, Josh Allen, playing at home and returning to Buffalo since being traded to the Patriots. Stephon Diggs is a Patriot now. So he's playing against his former team. After everybody knows about Stephon Diggs, everybody knows that him and Cardi B is expecting a child. So he wanted to go out there and show off and show out. Cardi was in attendance at this game, so Stephon Diggs had a little more motivation to go out there and beat his old team, and beat his old team he did. And I'm not saying that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills did not bring it this game, because they did. But Stephon Diggs was too much in the second half, even for Josh Allen. And the Patriots defense, led by Mike Vrabel, a former player that won 6 Super Bowl rings with Tom Brady. So Mike Vrabel knows both offense and defense when it comes to New England. Every time New England plays Buffalo, these games are close. And this game right here did not disappoint. Stephon Diggs shocking the world and shocking the Buffalo Bills. Last second on the clock, game tied at 20. Diggs got the ball down the field to the goal line. The Patriots kicked the field goal. The New England Patriots defeating the Buffalo Bills by a score of 23-20, handing Buffalo their first loss of the season. Now, I still, in my eyes, and I'm going to give my Super Bowl picks now. From what I'm seeing, from these weeks, from what I see the Eagles and the Buffalo Bills this year in the Super Bowl. I don't think that Kansas City is the it factor right now, but they can be. But Monday night was not their night. Monday night, Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the returning Xavier Worthy playing host to Trevor Lawrence, Travis Hunter, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, everybody knows about this rivalry. Chiefs, Jaguars is always a good one. It's always a close one. And indeed, this one did not disappoint. Now, the Chiefs' defense should be kicking themselves in the behind right now. Because at the last second of this game, 3rd down and goal, Jacksonville has the ball. Trevor Lawrence tripped, stumbled. He fell on the ground. Nobody touched him. He got up off the ground, picked the football up while he was on the ground, and rushed it for a 3-yard touchdown. The Jacksonville Jaguars upsetting Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 31-28. Now, this is bad tackling. If a quarterback falls on the floor, and this goes back to years and years, and Jets fans, you know what I'm talking about. Mark Sanchez and the butt fumble. That's what that was with Jacksonville and Kansas City. But this time, Trevor Lawrence stepping on his own player's foot, stumbles on the floor with the ball in his hand. The ball did not touch the ground, so the play still can happen. He stumbles, gets up, one hand on the ground, the other hand, the football's in the air, and he dives in. Touchdown, Jacksonville, game over. The Jacksonville Jaguars are also 4-1. That is a shocker to me because last year they were terrible. This year they had, I think, number 1 or number 2, drafting Travis Hunter from Colorado. Travis Hunter playing with Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders last year. He could play both sides of the ball. He could play receiver or cornerback, and that's why Jacksonville did what they had to do because Travis Hunter was on both sides of the ball. He was stopping plays. He was catching the ball all over Mahomes and the Chiefs. And now the Chiefs, for the first time in history, has to look back with a 2-3 record and say, can we make it to home court advantage this year in the playoffs? I've seen it happen before, but look, being that the Chiefs' record is dangerous because you got Detroit coming up on Sunday night, you got Baltimore after that, and then you play host to the Chicago Bears. Now, out of 3 of those games, you should win 2. But Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs players coming back from injury, I just don't see the Chiefs winning back-to-back games like that because Detroit is a tough team to beat. Lamar Jackson might come back red hot from his hamstring injury. You got the Ravens again. And then Chicago, let's face it, guys. Let's be real with the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have not been the same since Brian Urlacher and a couple of those guys. They haven't been the same since they had Rex Grossman as their quarterback. Chicago Bears, I just don't see what the attraction to Caleb Williams is. Maybe it's too early for me to see, but I have to see it for myself. Folks, don't forget tonight, a big battle in the NFC East. So my question to y'all, out of desperation, both teams coming from a loss last week, who is going to be the more desperate team tonight? Is it going to be the Philadelphia Eagles or the New York Giants? If I'm Brian Dable, I'm counting on my defense. You have to. because you got these guys in there to do one thing: stop the run. Stop Saquon Barkley. Stop Jalen Hurts. I'm not worried about Devontae Smith. I'm not worried about A.J. Brown. They haven't caught anything for so long. What I'm working on, if I'm the Giants and I'm Brian Daboll, you have to be able to stop the run early. Because if Saquon runs on the early and he gets over 5 or 10 or maybe 15 yards, the Giants are in trouble. That's just me being a football fan, watching them play for so long. And teams that can stop the run have a chance of winning football games. The reason why the Giants lost last week because they had a problem stopping the run. They cannot go 2 weeks in a row without stopping the run. So I hope that Brian Daboll, you take heed to what I have to say. You know they're going to run Saquon Barkley. If y'all can stop Saquon Barkley from running tonight, I see the Giants upsetting them by at least a field goal. But if Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley start off red hot, it's going to be a long night for Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. This Sunday, the Jets play host to the Denver Broncos. What team in New York is more desperate? To me right now, it's the Jets, because at least the Giants got a win last week. So let's see what these New York teams can do. And that was my week 5 going into week 6 wrap up of the NFL and week 6 of the 100 yards and running. Join me next week as I cover the Jets and the Denver Broncos and so Sunday night football. Detroit, Kansas City. What team is more hungry? We will see next week. I want to thank my viewers and my future viewers for watching. Join me next week as I cover week 6 going into week 7 of the NFL. I'm your boy Reg. Peace and love. Enjoy the game tonight. Giants, Eagles. It's going to be a good one. I'll see y'all next week.